Hey there, and welcome to the Best You Nation. We're excited for you, and we hope that this podcast will help you grow, optimize your 24 hours in a day, and help you live elevated. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. What's up, guys? It's your boy Finn and Adler right here on the Best You Nation. We are super excited to bring you guys a brand new episode on this podcast where we're helping you cultivate your mind to be the best version of you. Adler, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I can say that I'm really excited for this episode, largely because we're about to find out a little bit more about each other. You know, we're gonna just kind of go back and forth and have a little fun. But that being said, I'll let you introduce the topic because, I don't want to, dominate the time. But I'm excited just to kind of get this out there and then just to see the feedback that we get from it. So
absolutely. Well, I think one of the things that we were talking about off air today was kind of figuring out how we can help people become closer to their friends. I mean, a lot of us have friends. A lot of us, we call our friends close. But how close are you with your friends? So Adler and I decided to do something a little different.
Yep.
That we wanted to dig deeper into our friendship, dig deeper into our closeness. How well do I know Adler, and how well does Adler know me? Now, as you guys know, we are hosts of a podcast. We're focused on helping you guys become the best version of you. So today, we challenge you to take this episode to your own personal life by, and I hope every episode we've actually ever had is brought to your personal life. But today, especially, we want this episode to help you cultivate your friendships. How can we do that? Well, we're going to ask some questions. We're going to go through them. We're going to kind of get to know each other a little bit more beyond our friendship we have now.
And by the end of this long, drawn-out process, we're hoping that you can be just a little bit closer, have a better understanding, and most importantly, recognize that there are other components and aspects in your life that you have to consider when it comes to being friends.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, and this is something that is so true, you can literally be working with somebody or be with somebody in the same room with them, but they're going through this extremely trying, miserable time in their life, and they may not voice it or vocalize it. And, you just have to be mindful of that. Like, you have to be mindful that even though everything is going honky-dory for you, it could be completely different for the other person.
That's right.
And this is just kind of just an exercise just to, just be more mindful of what others possibly could be going through.
Absolutely. And we're going to make it more fun as well at the same time, because it is important to know who you're surrounding yourself with. One of the things that I've always noticed that I used to do, and this is something that I want to bring up because maybe you're one of those people that have experienced this or maybe are going through this right now, where you have friends for a sense of comfort. And that's normal. It's a typical thing. We want people around us because we are people.
Of course.
I'm a people person. And that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. I used to do this thing, and maybe you're one of those people out there who have called your so-called friends, people that you spend time with, but you really don't know much about them. They're really just acquaintances. And forgive me for saying this, but I really didn't have a lot of friends because I just had people that I knew. It wasn't really beyond this extent of just knowing their name or maybe what they were taking and what classes they shared with you back in, my other time of my life when I was a little bit on a different track. But that's not the point. Today, we want to help you, as Adler said, exercise a new fundamental that we can add to your toolbox and how you and other people can get close and become more aware of your friendships, because I think that's something in 2021 we're super focused on.
So, all right. And what we'll do, we're going to set it up kind of like a format where, I ask a question and you respond. And then after you respond, I'll kind of tell you like my own 2 cents of that same question. Perfect. And we'll kind of go back and forth. We have a list of questions that we wrote down we're going to choose from. And, really, I hope you guys enjoy it. You'll kind of get a chance to know us a little bit better. And I'll get a chance to know Finn a little bit better and have a little bit of a better understanding of who Finn is.
And just viewers' discretion, I just want to know, I know a lot about Adler, and I just want you to know that just because you're asking your best friends, well, we're going to find out. But just because just because you're like best friends with people, okay?
Yeah.
you can still ask your friends questions. I just
Yeah.
want you guys to know, like, there are things that I don't know about Adler. I know a lot about Adler, but there's things that I still need to know, and I think it's healthy. I think it's a very healthy habit for you to develop these friendships
No, of
and
course.
also dig deeper into getting to know your friends, because we all are going through something. Like, some people don't know that I'm in nursing school. Some people don't know that we're not necessarily in nursing school. I'm in school to become a nurse. I
Yes.
should be more specific. But I'm going to be there.
Nonetheless,
But
you will get
there are
there.
some things that you don't know about me, and you're going to find out. Hopefully, maybe we'll see what's going to happen, depending on the questions. But we urge you and definitely motivate you guys to take a chance to listen to what we got to talk about and take this out into your life. And we want to hear about your feedback. But we'll talk about where you guys can post that later. But let's get started. Adler, are you going to start this off, or do you want me to start this off?
I am going to start it off.
Perfect.
Because
Dominate this,
I'm
my
your
guy.
senior, so
Wow,
I'm older.
making me feel like a toddler.
Oh, I mean, you're kind of young. Anyway, so, all right, the first question I got for you is, when was the moment in your life
My life.
that you laughed the absolute hardest?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I know, right? That's a good one.
When was the last time I laughed the hardest?
Like you just couldn't, like you would just geek and turned red, like you just uncontrollably just giggled.
Okay, I'm going to share this with you because it's kind of goofy, and this happened a few years ago. Like, when I say a few, when I was like 12 years old. I do have a time where it's almost like an embarrassing story, but I feel like embarrassing stories are funny.
That's fine, yeah.
So my mom and I were at this camp, and
Yeah.
it was a family camp that we went to. And my mom and I, well, the whole camp, they were doing like a performance. Like, everyone had to do like a skit or like some kind of magic trick, or I don't know, just some kind of like thing. Like
Yeah, it's a talent show kind of.
talent show.
Yeah, yeah.
So my mom is a yoga instructor, and she's been doing that for 15 plus years.
Nice.
And my mom and I were doing partner yoga. So that basically means that you and another person have to do these yoga poses
Together, yeah.
And it was one of the poses. We actually never did it when we actually did the talent show, but we tried it in the in our cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I went to go lift my mom up. Now, considering that I was 12 years old, I lift my mom up, and I farted so loud. It was ridiculous. But it wasn't even about being loud. The fart lasted like a solid 30 seconds, bro. And I'm talking about it was so crazy that the people next door to us were talking prior to.
Hey, are you okay?
Literally, they were talking next door, and the people next door were silent after the 30 seconds. And I was like, my mom could not stop laughing. I was like hysterically laughing, my guy. It was to the point where it's like this.
I can.
If you ever had a balloon, like a.
Yeah.
Imagine that for 30 seconds.
I can see.
That's how my
I can
fart
see
was.
how you said that.
And I'm lifting my mom up because I'm like 12 years
embarrassing
old.
moment.
Yeah, it was pretty bad because I felt like crud. These people next door hear me farting like crazy. And I'm holding my mom up for an airplane pose. So if you ever do yoga, look up the airplane pose. It takes two people. But I think and I don't know what was going on, but I thought I had it. And I'm a cocky person sometimes, but I really thought I had it. And I was holding my mom up, and I'm like, oh. Like the engines were rolling for sure.
Were you like, okay, question.
Yeah.
Were you like making like direct eye contact?
Yes, and I was afraid that I was going to drop my mom.
She's looking at your face, you're looking at her face, and now you're just...
For 30 seconds, exactly. And the thing is, and my mom's like, you better not drop me. So, to the best of my memory, that is like the most hysterical moment that I've ever had. And I've laughed so hard at my mom. Like, even when we went to the talent show, we were trying to keep her composure because we remembered we're doing yoga.
What happened? Yeah.
And we're like, we're going to
That
have
makes
to
sense.
find an alternative
That's
pose
good.
because this is going to be...
I would have never even been able to guess that. I was trying to think of like an embarrassing moment that you could have had, but I would have never guessed that. So that's good. That's good.
What about you?
For me, the hardest I ever laughed. All right. So, America, I'm not a bully. All right. However, back in a time before this, there was a guy that we were like super close with. His name was Manny, and so for a lot of people that don't know that I went to a school that was about 45 minutes away, Father Lopez Catholic High School. What represent? It was 45 minutes away, and so like what I would do is like my friends that were local in the area, James, myself, Henley, and Manny, we were all in the area, so we'd always drive together, ride together. It was the four of us. It's like a brotherhood. It's a pact.
It was y'all with a pack. Yeah.
It was a group. And
Four amigos.
the funniest thing, like, you know how like there's always like a group of people, and there's always that one person that's like for the lack of a better term, the butt of the joke, right? Mm-hmm. So my friend Manny, he was kind of the butt of the joke a lot of the time for the stuff that we did. And so like there was one day we're driving back. I'm the only one with the license, and they're all riding in the car. And so I'm driving back to Deltona, and I gotta drop him off at like Winn-Dixie. And I always drop him off at Winn-Dixie. His sister comes picks him up at Winn-Dixie, and then I move on and I drop James off, and then I head home myself. And then it's like this
cycle every day.
Ongoing thing. So it's common knowledge for us to know that Manny's gonna get picked up by his sister. So sometimes, unfortunately, his sister wasn't there on time, and so he'd have to sit there and wait. And one day we decided to have this bright idea of yelling out a whole bunch of inappropriate, slightly kind of messed up things to him in the public parking lot while he was standing there waiting for his sister. And so like we went through the first time, like we said those things, we drove, and then we left, and so we're laughing, and it's like, yo, bro, let's do it again. And it's me, Henley, and James, and we go back, we make a U-turn, we come back through. He's sitting there, he's like, all right, well, you know, the worst is over, whatever. And we come through, and we start yelling out a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of things. I can't remember what
I'm
exactly.
just trying to picture Winn-Dixie.
Yeah.
What is this? Manny's just sitting out front.
You
guys are just driving around the parking lot, and y'all come back up and just say some
We must have
again.
circled that parking lot at least 10 times before we actually left. And we went back. At this point, I probably could have dropped him off by now. But we just circled back and forth, and we just yelled stuff. And it got to a point where...
Why did he get up and go inside of Winn-Dixie? I don't understand.
He got up, went inside Winn-Dixie. I would have... And then, wait. And then we're like driving through. Again. I was like, man, we don't see him. Where's he at? He takes his backpack and just chucks it at the car. And we were rolling. We just sped off after that. It's like, yo, okay, all right, well, we're done. We're done messing with him.
So shout out to Manny, wherever you are. If you're listening to this, Manny, I just would have given you one tip of advice. If you know Adler and the gang are running around saying random stuff to you, and it's like round 3, you should have already probably been in Winn-Dixie the first round.
Well, you know, we were young and dumb, and we said just a lot of stuff, man. You know, but hey, nothing but the best of love to you, Manny, man. That was good. That was like I could not stop. Like even when we talk about it now, like we reminisce, it's just the funniest thing and the best moment I've ever had with all 4 of them.
Hey, this is why we do what we do, and why laughing with people and spending time with people is so crucial.
Oh yeah, it's essential, man.
It's exactly. So I got a question for you. It's a little more on a serious note. So we talking about laughing and goofing off and stuff, but I have a question for you, Adler. What book? It's not that serious. I don't like get into a serious mode. But what book has impacted you the most?
A book called Think and Grow Rich.
I'm gonna throw my hands up. I knew that one, but I didn't say it. But I knew it. I just wanted to say that.
So that book, it kind of. So if anyone's ever read the book, it's sensational. It'll definitely be a good source of motivation. But I thought about like it's the power of willpower and speaking into existence what you want and going out with reckless abandon and making sure that all your actions are supporting going after what it is that you want in life. And you know, there's a whole bunch of examples and stories of like just.
Can you share one?
Fantastic people. Well, okay, so one of them was, and I can't remember the guy's name, but this guy, he must have been a teenager, like probably 16, 17 years old, and all he wanted to do was to be partnered with Thomas Edison. Now, when I say partnered with, not work for.
It was, but you know who it was? I could tell you who it was.
Who was it?
It was Tesla. Tesla wanted to, and the only reason why I know this is because I've watched a documentary. Tesla wanted to work with Edison But Edison's requirements were really, really extreme, and Edison.
This could actually be a second person. Only reason being because
There was somebody else, but
Yeah.
he was against Tesla. I mean, against Edison. So I
Yeah.
think it was Tesla. Tesla was like a 16, 17-year-old guy who wanted to work with Edison, but Edison didn't see anything much more in Edison. Or, I'm sorry, in Tesla. And Tesla kind of went on his own path, figuring out his own way and working with other businessmen. That's to the best of my knowledge, but I think it's Tesla that you're talking about.
So the guy that I'm talking about, I don't think it's Tesla, but
Okay.
the reason why I don't think so is because he in the book it talks about like how he wasn't he didn't have money to get to where he needed to get to.
I think it's Tesla.
So well, hold on.
You know what? I'm gonna look it up.
Listen to the story first.
We'll figure it out.
I know. Listen to the story real quick. So he didn't have money to get to his destination, but he said, you know what? I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna find a way to get to Thomas Edison. And when he finally met Thomas Edison, he went face to face, toe to toe with Thomas Edison, and it was kind of like this surreal moment. But he didn't take it as like, oh my God, I'm speaking to Thomas Edison. He took it like, hey, look, I know you don't know who I am, but I know who you are. You and I are gonna partner with something one of these days, and you and I are gonna be partners in it, okay? And Thomas Edison hired him right in there on the spot. And when they later asked him why did he hire him right in there on the spot, he basically said something along the lines of, when he spoke to me and addressed me in that manner, when he said, "Hey, you and I are going to be partners someday," he said it with the utmost contrition, purity, and he said it with confidence. And because of that, he's like, "Yo, this type of person is somebody that I can work with in the long run. I don't know what we're going to work on, but we'll figure it out." Fast forward like maybe a couple years into him being an intern there, like he was doing a lot of like meaningless work. Edison had come up with an invention that he brought up to his sales team, and he said, "Hey, sell it." And they're like, "Nah, there's no way we can sell it. There's no possible way that we're going to be able to sell this." And at that point, that moment, that young gentleman, I still can't remember his name, he took advantage of the situation, and he went out and he said, "Look, Edison, I know they said that they can't sell it, but I will be the salesman for this. I got this." And he had the most sales at the time with Edison. And so Edison partnered with him, like with this device, and they just went back and forth, just selling it from door to door. So that was one of the stories that kind of like impacted me. It's like one of the very first ones, like in the very first 30, 40 pages of the book. But that was like the one that's like, wow, like he really like called that out, spoke it into existence, met an icon, and not only did he meet the icon, but he ended up partnering with the icon, just like he said.
And I hope what we're doing right now with our podcast, that's pretty much where we're going to go with what we're doing.
That's the plan, man. That's what we're going to
go
go to.
Partner with people that we can grow and we can develop and we can do exactly that. If Tesla is the guy that we're talking about, I want us to be the Tesla. I want us to be Tesla working with the Edison that we approach. Because our goal, our mission, our focus, our concept that we have with the Best You Nation is very, very, very simple. But it can be very complicated at times because some people don't see it as simple. But no, man, it's a powerful book. I'm actually going to look into getting that book. I want to read that book.
It's very good.
Well, I've looked at, I've read the I've gotten into
Psycho-cybernetics.
a couple of the chapters of that book. I really need to go back and revisit because it's right before COVID. I started reading the book, and honestly, as bad as it sounds, I forgot some of it just because I've been dealing with a lot of neurological issues. But
that's okay.
With that being said, at the same time, I want to go back and revisit that book because I think that with Law of Attraction, so The Secret, I don't know if you want to ask me or I'm just going to go ahead and share it since
you go ahead. Go ahead.
The Secret is really the book that I feel like is, for me, that has really impacted me because...
I never actually read the book, but I did see the documentary. So
I will say the documentary is great, but for a personal reason, I read the book first before I actually watched the documentary.
Yeah.
It's pretty much lined up to the same, but it's just so many things that you have to do for your own personal growth. So The Secret really kind of gave me an understanding. Now, considering I read this book at like the age of 16 years old. 16 years old, I was already cultivating my mind to be a successful entrepreneur. Somebody who wants to be an influencer, someone who's going to leave an impact for people. And reading The Secret gave me an understanding of this is how you cultivate your thoughts and how you manifest your life. there's nothing else greater than knowing that the law of attraction is in place. We attract things into our life. There was one of the guys in the book. Everybody knows who this is. Everybody knows who this guy is. Who plays the Grinch? Wow, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey
or James Carrey, however you want to call it.
I think it's Jim.
It's Jim Carrey.
It's Jim Carrey.
Yes, he's universally known as Jim.
So Jim Carrey, he wrote himself a check. I think like
$30,000.
Something like that. He wrote some extreme. No, I thought it was $100,000.
It might be okay. You're right.
It was $100,000. It was one and a bunch of zeros.
Right before he signed with Ace Ventura.
Correct. Yeah. And he said that he wrote himself a check and he kept it in his wallet. And that right there, guys, is incredible. You know, I want to write a check and say this is how much I want to make. You know, and I want to, like the other day, I cultivated my mind to, and I love the word cultivate. It's kind of like the word of the month for me.
I'll write you a check. I'll write you the check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I didn't write my own check. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. You can.
I think we should write a check for the best nation.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely do that. That's something that
what we need to do.
We can definitely, and that's something that we can definitely do. I think that like with Jim Carrey is one of like those guys that like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, he's so over the top and all the antics and he's so this, but at the end of the day, he's literally made a career and a name for himself doing all those antics and being over the top.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite movies as a kid growing up.
Liar.
No, honestly, it was The Grinch. I loved watching The Grinch.
Yeah, exactly.
The Grinch, obviously Ace Ventura was a great movie. The Mask was another one that's really good.
I did like that one too.
Dumb and Dumber 2, I think.
Yes.
Those are some great movies.
Dumb and Dumber. Oh
now,
my God, I could teach you life lessons off Dumb and Dumber.
Taking it back though. A lot of the young generation may not know who this is, but if you go back to watching Living
He's
Color,
the guy that played in Sonic the Hedgehog. He was Professor Robotnik. In case
that's
y'all
like
don't.
now.
What? I'm letting the kids know. I'm just giving some reference into
I was going back to like the 80s.
Well,
more like the 90s.
We can still go into the 90s. I'm just letting the younger version, the younger crowd, I'm letting you know that he was Professor Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog. So if you need to look him up, check him out. Like he has an amazing just history and super positive.
Jim Carrey also, he was on Saturday Night Live.
SNL. No.
Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
In Living Color.
That's okay. That's going back to the 90s where he was Fire Marshal Bill.
He was in Living Color.
My name is Fire Marshal Bill Burns, and quite frankly, I'm a little pissed. Let me just tell you something.
Listen, guys.
That's actually the best impression I've actually heard Finn ever do in my life. I've given you props. That's the best one I've ever heard.
Looks like a baby needs to be spanked. Let me just tell you something.
So Fire Marshal Bill on Living Color, yes.
Yes.
And then he also does Mr. Penguin Popper. This is a bunch of movies.
This is a whole bunch of just characters.
Jim Carrey wrote himself a check. This is the bottom line. The important thing is coming back to the secret. The law of attraction is a powerful rule and a powerful law that you can apply to your life. And it's kind of what we're doing here. We want to help you cultivate that. We want you guys to reach out into your toolbox and say, I want to be able to attract these things in my life. If you're attracting negative things,
you got to put it out there.
You're going to attract negative things in your life. If you keep attracting this, I can't, guess what you're cultivating? I can't. That means you're never going to get there because you keep telling yourself and you keep telling yourself over and over and over again that you're never going to do it. It's kind of like how this podcast all started. And it was an idea. It was a thought. It was an emotion. It all started in you needed each part needed to come together in sync to genuinely create this product that we're doing now. And here we are, we're podcasting season 5. God, it's so amazing. But yeah, The Secret is the book that I would say really has given me insight and has really been one of the best reads that I've had.
I like that. Okay. So now my question is, context. Without naming names specifically, just explain the situation. Who was the last person that made you cry and why? Ooh, I know. See, don't use names, but you go ahead and you can kind of discuss the situation in this.
Let me ask you this. Can I ask you this? Does it have to be something that, like, let's say an event that took place that could have made me cry, or does it have to be a specific event that a personal individual made me cry? Because there's been events prior to a certain event that I could talk about one person, but there's an event of several people that may have.
I don't know why you have to make it so complicated.
Okay,
so pick either one. Just
I will
pick
go
either
with
one.
a person. So,
Yeah.
um,
Just don't cry right now. Cause
I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not sure if I can console you. I'll try my best.
No.
There.
Let's see. Well, I will be honest with you. I think this is, and I'm not going to mention this person's name, but it happened a few years ago. I've spoken about this relationship before, and I think that's really the last time that I genuinely cried. I genuinely cry, but I don't cry often. It's very, 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 very rare for me to cry.
Because he's a man, all right? He's a manly man, and he doesn't cry. Go ahead.
The last time that I genuinely cried,
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning this person's name. Obviously, it was a female, but it was my ex-girlfriend, and I remember coming home and sitting down there and talking to her, and having the conversation with her about our relationship. I think that we were in a place where were just exhausted from one another, and we really needed to find a medium and say, we need to break this apart. We need to break this off. This isn't working.
Yeah,
It
it's unhealthy.
It was unhealthy, very
Yeah.
unhealthy. I would say this is like very vulnerable. Actually, this is great.
Yeah, we're opening up, man. We're letting the people know. Go ahead.
It was actually, I didn't cry until after I dropped her off at home and gave her a hug and told her that you're gonna do great. You're gonna make it in life if you choose to make things right for yourself. Go to school. Pursue the degree you want, pursue the career that you want. I hope that whoever you meet and whoever you marry, you will be happy. It wasn't actually until I got home and I unpacked my stuff from work and took a shower and sat in my bed and just looked at the last text message from her. That's when I broke down and cried.
Yeah.
I think it was September 2018 is really when that was the last time that I really genuinely was made to cry. It was because, and I know I'm getting kind of a little bit more somber, but it's because this was a moment that I realized that I had to make a choice for myself, but also for her.
Yeah.
That we were not awesome together, we were awesome individually, and just being in that relationship, the things that I remembered, it was like all these things were flashing in front of my face. All these moments we went to the Buck Tower Gardens and we experienced that together. We would go out to dinner and spend time together, and you do look back, and I personally embrace all those moments.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I was crying because I had to let go of somebody that I genuinely spent many, many months, who drove with me to go get my like when I went to go take my boards for my EMT license for the 4th time. She sat in the car and told me, "Babe, you're gonna do great. You're gonna pass this test."
Sat there and waited for me in the car.
And she sat for me for the hour and 15 minutes I took that exam, and I came back out, and she asked me how I did. I said, "I don't know, but I think I did great." And she was the first person that knew about me passing my exam. So it's just like you look back on those moments,
Yeah.
We weren't awesome together, but we were awesome individually. That's something we came to learn about once we realized that we needed to separate. And so that was really the last time I cried, man. That was the last time I really, really cried. And it made me realize that yes, I'm a man, but at the same time I have emotions, and that's something that for a long time I honestly thought I didn't have.
So check this out. I think that it's huge because I feel like there's like this misconception, and I don't know if it's necessarily this generation, but it's more like a generational thing. Like if you speak to your father and you speak to my father, it's like be strong, don't cry, hold in the pain and hold in this concept. And I think that it has a place in society, but I also feel like you're doing yourself a disservice because instead of allowing yourself to express it, you just kind of just hold it in, and you never get it out, and you never get that peace from getting it out. And so nothing against like your dad or my dad, they handle grief differently, but a lot of the times it's just like this concept of like hold it in, be strong, and don't allow yourself to let out that vulnerable side. And so I struggle, especially in a relationship, I struggle being vulnerable largely because there's been I had one time where I tried to be vulnerable, and then she basically called me a female dog, if you know what I mean. And so I don't really like putting myself out there. It's
Yeah,
hard
because
for me
you've
to
been
get there.
because you've experienced something, man.
It was negative.
Someone
it was
put you.
negative.
Someone
Hey.
called you out, and that's
Yeah, and
to
I
an
mean-
extent that would put you in a position where you are a little bit more cautious, a
Reserved.
little bit more conscious
Reserved.
about what's going on. Yeah,
That's all it
reserved.
is. It's more so reserved. So answering the question myself, the last time I wouldn't say like boo-hooed cried, but you kind of just shed a tear, right? And you know this situation. Well, actually, I've actually discussed this with you, without naming names, of course.
Well, it's kind of the purpose.
Yeah. There was
Still want to respect the people.
no, of course. There was this young lady, and man, like it was one of those things where like I didn't realize how bad I had it until like a few months like into it. Like we were hanging out, everything was cool, and everything was fine, and then we had like this moment where like I guess her friend's significant other pulled me over to the side and said, hey, look, if you're gonna be serious, you kind of have to be like serious about this, because she does have a child, so that's something. And for I don't have kids, I don't have a child or anything like that.
Right.
So for me, it's kind of like, all right, hey, this is uncharted territory, but this is something I would like to pursue and kind of see where things go. And so I met her son and everything, and we kind of like formed a little bit of like a bond, and it was cool, and he would always like come around me and just be like, yo, you're my best friend, stuff like that. Like I was like, yo, chill out, you can't say that because I'm a man and I don't say stuff like that, but it's whatever. All jokes aside, but like those moments kind of like it meant something to me. It was big for me, and things ended up not working out. Now, if you're asking me how or why it didn't work out, I can't tell you why. The only thing I know is when things are going south, and maybe this is good, this is bad, I'm not sure. When things are starting to go south and I can, sense it or, feel it, my rule of thumb is don't go away mad. Just go away. Let it happen, because this is the direction it's heading anyway. Don't go away mad. Just go away. And so that's kind of the philosophy I kind of I picked up. And whether it's right or wrong, I'm not sure. But I do know this, meeting parents is a huge deal for me. I don't allow a lot of people to meet my parents. It's you don't get there until I'm all right, hey, this is something I'd like to pursue. Reckless abandon, 100%. This is where I want to go. And she met my family. She met my mom, my dad, my brother, a lot of my friends. Met you obviously. And it was the most disappointing thing that I've probably experienced in most recent years. And the reason why I say that is just because you build up this expectation of what you think it could possibly turn out to be, and then it falls so short of not even come close to your expectations. It falls so short.
It's like you're in track when you're playing discus and you throw the disc. I'm throwing it right there. And that junk is like.
Here's a better example. It's like going through Donkey Kong or Mario, and there's 30 levels, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna get to up there, and then you just pretty much lose at level 3. That's how it felt. That's how it felt, because it was just yo.
I could play some Mario and Donkey Kong.
Yeah,
I like me some Mario.
Yeah, and you fail at level 3. You're not only disappointed. You're just it's kind of embarrassing. This is. Ugh,
you're well, what?
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't say that it was one of those uncontrollable boo hoo hoo type deals, but it was one of those situations where, So if for transparency, we're gonna go for total transparency. If I had an opportunity to kind of speak up again, I would probably kind of let her know exactly how I felt. But it was I kind of helped reserve back, because I was all right, I'm not sure.
But you were.
If I can kind of be open in that situation, so.
I think you were in here in your heart. I feel like you had something that could have developed. And you were,
it could have, man.
Like you said, level 3.
Yeah.
And you were disappointed because this is what you felt like there was something there.
At least if we fell short, like, can we make it to like level
Level
like 20?
20,
Like,
yeah.
you know, if we get to 20, I'm like, all right, well, you know what? We rode this train as long as we possibly could in order to get here. So I'm actually kind of proud. That's the most disheartening thing. It's just like, all right, we didn't even get off the ground. It's like, okay. So why did I go through all this, like, meeting like your family and you meeting my family, and then like for it to just end like this? And the thing that kind of I had to learn in that situation is, just because the person that you thought would be your person doesn't mean that the world ends. It just means that this is just not your person.
That's true.
And you have to be okay with it. You have to find some level of comfort knowing that, hey, you know what, at least, and this is the, you know, the half glass full, or the glass half full,
yeah.
whatever. At least it happened earlier instead of like later, because I'm sure that if it happened later, I would have probably been in like a distraught.
Oh yeah,
Like
my
it would have
dad.
been like, he would have been like, you know, like hurt.
Because it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a really good example, and it's not really benefiting me, but it's gonna give you context.
Yeah.
I have a car that is considered underwater, and for lack of better terms, for anybody who understands finances and dealerships and cars and stuff, when your car is when you owe more than the value of the vehicle, you consider underwater. That's it. Some people run into that problem, and I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there who've experienced that. But I would say that if you would have continued in that relationship and you would have gone down that road, you would have been in that underwater situation. It's like you realize, man, I put in all this work and put in all this time and money into it. Like, when I say money, I'm obviously I mean time. You find yourself, you're just like, God, dude, you feel like you were held short.
Yeah, I mean, so at this point, I'm at peace with it. So it doesn't, like, you know, if I would be lying to say it doesn't disappoint me, if I think about it.
Of course.
But I try not to dwell on it, just because it's like, all right, I've got so many different things that I'm working on, you know, between, you know, all my goals, you know, work, the podcast and stuff. And it's like, all right, hey, you can't get hung up on like someone not seeing your value, because then that means that I value her perception of me more than I do my own perception of myself. And that's something that, you know, you can't fall in the trap of, because at the end of the day, you set your own limits and boundaries. You can't allow anybody else to set them for you. And that's something that's huge, and I'm a big proponent of. And I will never allow somebody to dictate how I feel or what I'm capable of.
And you should never let anybody. No, you should.
Never, ever.
I have another question for you.
Ooh, shoot.
And this one is, I could probably guess this. You probably guess mine, but I'll just ask the question.
Okay.
What TV show do you turn on when you just
This is
want to
The
zone
Office.
out?
Yours is The Office. I already know it's The Office.
Hold on.
Okay, no, go
We'll
ahead.
get there
I'm
when
sorry.
we get there.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So what TV show do you turn on when you just want to zone out and feel better? What's your TV show?
All right, so...
Anyone who's watching YouTube, you probably know what I'm doing and where it comes from. But
Yeah, it's The Office. So, all right, this is, I guess, the TV show, it just kind of gives me a sense of nostalgia. So, my cousin, Wendy Whedon's, she passed away July 27th, 2017. And when she passed away, it kind of left like this huge like hole here. And the reason being is because like this was my like throughout nursing school, she was like my source of motivation. She was my source of encouragement. I would go over to her house. She'd wake me up like to be like, hey, study. She'd like make me coffee. Like she'd be like, hey, let me buy you lunch. Like all these different things. And I would run through like my plans, my goals, and everything with this person. And like she was the first person I went to a concert with, the first person I had like an, you know, if I'm being honest, transparent, an alcoholic beverage with, the first person that like I literally like I did a lot of different things with, and probably one of the most trusted person in my life ever. Like I could tell her anything, and I know without a doubt she could be tortured by like terrorists overseas, and she wouldn't crack. Like that's like the level of trust that I had in her. And like the day that she passed, you know, that was tough for me. So like one of the things I like to do, her and I favorite show was Scrubs. And so we would watch this show and we would just quote things back and forth, kind of like how you are with The Office. But we would just quote things back and forth and just like go, like, it's just our thing. And, you know, nowadays I watch it just to kind of get a sense of like, all right, you know, just to kind of feel like she's still close to me.
It's a part that's connected to you.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I know it's like, it's super lame, like, it's Scrubs. I don't know if you ever watched it, but if you ever do get a chance to, it's a decent series. There's like 7 seasons. The last 2 are not so good, but you know, the first, you know, few are perfect. And you know, it's just a way of just kind of remaining close and keeping that bond. And what's cool is like my brother actually kind of got into it a little bit later, and so like we'll watch like shows and we can quote stuff back and forth to each other. So that's the one show that I can watch like over and over again. I'll never get tired of it. Never.
So you guessed it right.
Of course.
But I appreciate you sharing that because it's for you at least. You know, you have to find that place of
Peace.
peace.
That's really what it was. Cause,
That's
you know,
what all it is, man.
for the longest time, I didn't have peace with it. And like, you know, there's another show that we kind of used to watch, like her and I, Big Bang Theory. When she died, I stopped watching it altogether because I couldn't do it. But like, recent years, I've kind of been able to kind of finish
Catch
out
back
the
up with
series
it.
and everything. I finished it out, and now I'm just like, all right, no, I feel better. You know, it's whatever.
The Office is my go-to show.
Of course.
If anybody knows me well enough, you know that The
Phyllis, yeah.
Office.
Ugh.
Michael Scott, Andy Bernard. I've gotten that a lot. Actually, a lot of people compare me to Andy Bernard.
You are an Andy type person. You are.
Just thinks, you know, he's a goofy guy, funny guy, super hyperactive, super creative, and riggedy-doo-doo-doo. You know what I'm saying? So,
The only thing I can say is at least then nobody called you Dwight Schrute.
you know, if someone ever called me Dwight Schrute, I would have to reconsider how are we friends
And
because
for those of you that don't know The Office, you definitely check it out. I think it's funny.
not on Netflix anymore, unfortunately,
They
but it is on
removed it.
Peacock. They took it off. It's on Peacock. But it's a streaming service by NSNBC and
NBC.
it's the whatever it has the Peacock logo.
It's
Whatever.
on
Beside the point.
NBC,
Go look it up.
apparently.
It's
Peacock.
The Office. But I've watched it 9 times round, and man, I love that. Is my show that I will turn on, I will watch, and I will just stream it, and I will just I love it. The reason why I love it is I think partially because of the fact that I'm just a cheesy, corny guy.
Yes.
And I'm the king of corny jokes.
Agreed.
I'm the dad jokes guy.
Dad joke of the
And
year.
as dry as The Office is, I feel like the humor that goes behind it with Steve Carell as Michael Scott and John Krasinski as Jim Halpert, you know, and you just look at these guys and, you know, Rainn Wilson as Dwight Schrute. Dwight Schrute has such a personality. Andy Bernard has a personality. You know, that show really to me is just honestly the go-to. I could watch it and sit there, do school. I could just sit there and watch it. But my favorite episode, and for anybody who has ever watched it, was the CPR episode where they're doing CPR and Dwight...
Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. Andy comes in.
Yeah.
You can't tell by the way that walk.
Exactly. Andy just comes out of nowhere, and Dwight, and the whole scene is just about like, all right, guys, and the little lady's like, all right, guys, the ambulance never made it. No one called 911, and it's like, all right, so he's confirmed dead. All right, check for an organ donor card, and he says he has an organ donor card. Dwight pulls out this like thing and starts ripping up the mannequin and tearing him up, cutting him. And he's like, all right, getting all the organs. Where's the heart?
We're gonna harvest the organs.
Harvest the organs, and
it's so morbid. So morbid, bro.
Such a savage. He takes the face, and goes, Clarice, and freaks the heck
If
out of
you've
him.
never
Stanley,
seen Silence of the Lambs, he literally puts the face of the mannequin on his face, and he goes,
Clarice. And Stanley's over here like, I need to sit down. I feel sick. And Stanley's like the Grouch. He's like the Grouch of The Office. But it's so funny because like,
yeah.
it's just the dark humor, the cheesy, dry humor that comes from The Office. It's so crazy that I love The Office that bad. I have 3 different pairs of socks. I have Michael Scott that says "That's what she said" socks. I have the episode with Dwight Schrute where he actually legit cuts the mannequin's face off. I have that. It's Clarice socks, and then I also have the episode where Kevin spills his famous chili. My mom told me about this chili. This chili's gonna be so good. Oh no, my chili! And he spills chili all over the office.
Everywhere.
But literally, guys, the office. Adler knows it for like. That wasn't even that hard, but the office.
You know what's crazy? I actually only made it. Like once Steve Carell left, I kind of like stopped. Like I watched it, but I just kind of like
it was tough when
I
Steve
stopped in and out. Like
when Steve left, it was kind of a rough. But The Office, that's the show, my show, and if anybody's ever reached over 9 watches or 9 rerounds of watching all 9 episodes or 9 seasons, let me know.
All right, this is gonna be the last question before we close out. I want a quick answer.
We're also just a heads up. We are gonna do a part 2.
It's a part 2.
This is part 1. We want to make sure that you guys are.
It's the more you know. You just kind of like learn a little bit more about like each other. So
exactly.
All right. If you could change just one thing, only one thing about yourself, what would it be, and why? Here on the Best You Nation.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, right?
Oh man.
Ask him a good one.
Dang.
That's a good one, right?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Well, if there's one thing that I could change about me, well, if I have to give the honest answer, I would say that there's nothing I want to change about me. I love me for who I am. But if there's a one thing that I could change, God, I don't even know.
There's no right or wrong answer, by the way.
I don't really have an answer, to be honest. I think that that's the beautiful part about this is that I don't have an answer. Mm-hmm. Yes, there are things that I personally can grow from and develop. I mean, I could say that I talk too much, but that could be a total wrong. But because I'm a communicator, I communicate. I naturally want to.
So maybe tweak it instead of saying you talk too much. Just be like, hey, I wish I was a better listener.
That's a better way of saying it. Yeah. I prefer if there's one thing I could work on.
Yeah.
To rephrase the question, is something that one of my weaknesses is that I don't listen enough. Yes. And I would like to be better at doing that. So if there's one thing that I could retweak or rework on or consistently get better at is being a better listener. I think that I do have the potential to listen, and I think I do a great job when I choose to. But I think I get so excited and I become very, very involved and I talk a lot. And I'm an over communicator, and being an over communicator can be good and bad. So if there's one thing that I really could work on bettering myself at, I don't know if that was the question, but if I'm recalling correctly, that would be the one thing that I would go back and be like, hey, I need to work on this.
And then what's your why for wanting to work on it?
I think that it can become very, it can be difficult for people to try to explain what they have going on, and it can come off very, very selfish, and that's not the type of person that I am. I'm not a selfish person at all, but perception is everything, and unfortunately, you come off as more of a talker than a listener. People might get that perception that, oh, this guy is very self-conceited, he's about himself, he's not going to listen to me, and that's very opposite of who I am. I'm very giving as far as my time. I will drive out to go see you and spend time with you. I mean, I put my time, my sweat, blood, and tears, probably not blood, but my sweat and tears to a certain extent, to spend time, listen, and do things to help people out. Yeah. I will stop what I'm doing to make sure that your day and your life is going well. I don't like to call myself a people pleaser. I'm a giver of my time. I'm a giver of hope and opportunity. So just to throw that out there, I think that a lot of the reason why I could be better at it is I don't want people to think that I'm selfish, and I want to follow up with that. Being a better listener will be a follow-up.
Okay, I understand that. That makes sense. So if I ask myself that question,
Yeah. Let's say, what is your response?
So I don't even really know how to even phrase this, but I like to be right. I like to know that when I predict something and it happens, I'm like, oh, okay, I like being right. And I think that I have like too much gratification at being right. Sometimes it's like, especially because it's like sometimes the person that's describing it or telling me what's going on, they're hurt by the situation, even though I'm right. I don't know, maybe it's ego or pride. I don't know what exactly I'm searching for, but like instead of I wish I didn't have as much gratification being right sometimes, just because of like there are innocent bystanders or that are hurt by it, and I kind of have to be a little bit better at that, and that's
Right.
something I can acknowledge that like I suck. I suck at it, but I could be a little bit better. So like whether it be from like, and this could be anything, whether it be from like betting on like which basketball team's gonna win,
More,
and I'm
or
right,
more like Finn can't grow out his beard.
which I was right about that.
No, you were wrong.
I mean,
grew it out.
the
And
second
you,
time through.
By the ways, you
I saw you. I saw you.
and I made it to December, so you
did.
also owe me for that. But you already did.
I owe you for December too. You cut it in December.
No,
You went goatee
No, that was definitely
in December,
no.
right before Christmas.
No,
Look at a picture of you in Christmas.
I told you why.
I'm right, America.
I told you why.
This is
I
why.
told you for
This is
work.
why. This is
No,
why.
it's for work.
I know you did it for work, but I'm still saying you still
So
cut
doesn't
it.
count.
No, I mean, so that's
So no one lost.
So why do I have to pay
No
for
one
it?
won.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't-
All right. So you just witnessed.
And I'm
how
right.
Finn and Adler usually
I'm
handle
right.
things.
I'm right.
And I'm wrong.
So that's all I gotta say. So, but like and it could be from anything. Like
You still owe me a steak.
yeah, you're right.
That
you are
part
right.
is
You're
correct.
correct. So one of the things that
Good
I
job.
pride myself
Good
on
job.
is if I am wrong, I will completely admit it. I won't I'm not gonna fight with you on that. Hey, look,
Because you're
you got
still
me.
right. You're right that you're wrong.
No, it has nothing to do
That's how
with
it
that.
works.
Like no,
You are correct. You know that you're wrong, so you know you're right by admitting that you're wrong.
you don't even make any sense right
I
now.
am
The
making
only
sense.
thing is like, so if I
You're
make
right.
a mistake or an error, I have no problem falling on my sword and saying, "Hey, look, I messed up. I could have been better." Boom, that's it.
But that's correct. So you acknowledge that you're the right thing to do because you know you're wrong.
Okay, sure, fine. I'll give you that. Whatever you want to, whatever makes you
right.
sleep comfortably. But
Sleep comfortably? Oh man.
Like,
let's
that's
see. 5
one-
pillows and a blanket?
5 pillows and a blanket. I was gonna say put on a fan and maybe like have a
It's kind of cold right now.
still nonetheless. I like doing like the burrito, like a burrito.
I like being the quesadilla.
I don't know what that means. Anyway, I'm gonna bypass that. So we're gonna just continue on with what I was saying. Yeah. So like whether it be from like sporting events, stock market, because hey, one of the things I will say is I have been investing since coronavirus has hit, and there are a lot of things that I have recommended to others. It's been right.
Yeah, you have.
And I don't want to I'm not
I'll
going
be
to
the first one to say
I'm not gonna
Adler is
gloat.
correct.
Finn got into a couple of companies that I had recommended, and he's reaping the benefits.
Sure
And
am.
for those of you that I did talk to that never decided to make a move, I feel sorry. Like I'm not, I feel bad, but I also feel good because I listened to myself. So it's one of those things. I would tweak it a little bit just so that way it's not as I guess boastful.
I think you could always find a way to, like you said for me, being more proactive about being a listener.
Yeah.
Listening more and being more engaged. And I guess the same thing for you is recognizing you can be right, but knowing it in here.
There's a right way to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
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 So you're right, but you're doing the wrong thing by like rubbing people's faces in it, which I'm really bad at it. I'm also really bad like trash talker, which I would probably tweak as well. I've kind of put that out there because if I can talk trash, I will fully 100% go at it 100%, like your beard. So
Yeah.
Yes.
I experienced that.
or,
Guys,
or you growing out your hair. All right, continue.
I was gonna say, like, my beard. I don't even want to go on. We'll keep that for another day. That whole beard and hair thing. Hey, I'll be honest, my hair is getting kind of long again.
Yeah, but you're gonna cut it soon. Anyway, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. I will say that it gives me a great sense of just like relief. just to know that you guys kind of get a better sense of who we are as individuals, and you get a better sense of Finn, you get a better sense of me, and you kind of get like an idea of like who we are as people. And we actually plan on picking this up again like towards the end of the season. We're gonna have like a part 2 version of this. And just the more you know about each other, the more you know about each other, the better your understanding, and realizing that the interpersonal relationships that you have in your life are essential to forming who you are as a person, and forming who you will become, for your future goals. So
Absolutely.
that's just something to keep in mind.
Now, this is the last thing, because I know this is an extended version. So we've been doing a lot of extensions because this season. So I just want to give a heads up. We are running these episodes a little longer on purpose.
Yes.
I just want to give you guys a heads up for that. If you're listening to this and you're catching this right now, they're intentionally longer because this is a very, very important season for a lot of people.
Yep.
A lot of people struggle with interpersonal relationships. A lot of people struggle with relationships and friendships in general. So we really want to emphasize that these episodes this season are intentionally longer for you to have more information so you guys can grasp more knowledge from us. Which brings me to my last point. I challenge every single one of you guys to take the time.
Challenge.
To write down 5 questions like we did today. We only did 3, but challenge to do 5 questions and ask some of the closest people that you have in your life these questions. I will, Adler and I will both post it on our personal pages. We will also post these things on our story over our own personal Instagram at The Best You Nation, so that you guys have a reminder and just kind of a format of how to ask the questions. We want you guys to be engaged with your friends, the people that you hang out with. Get to know them more.
Get to know each
other.
other
You don't have
better.
to ask what we ask, and you don't have to be also so sentimental. You could actually ask, like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite this? Instead of going to a Mexican restaurant because you want to eat Mexican food, maybe you guys like to go eat some pho. Pho is really good, and you might like South Korean food. Okay, you might like ramen. You might like steak.
Italian.
Maybe like lobster. Maybe Italian.
Who knows?
But if you don't know, you're not going to know unless you ask your friends and get to know them more. So, guys, we love you. We appreciate every single one of you guys. Again, this is the year 2021. We're making big moves, which we will share later on down the road when the time comes. But right now, at this very moment, being the best you is optimal. So, guys, appreciate you guys.
We'll catch you next week, guys.